meilleure qualité, dites-moi si je suis un complotiste, que les images de la GoPro là, qui est sur les ailes. SK qui demande est-ce qu'ils vont perdre le contact en passant derrière la Lune. Oui, on va perdre le contact en passant derrière la Lune. L'humanité 2026 n'a pas encore mis assez de satellites, mais ça ne saurait tarder. Voilà. Une fois que SpaceX, ça va les énerver, ils vont nous mettre une petite Moonlink autour de la Lune, petite constellation, et fin de l'histoire, on aura des lives de, de qualité, de qualité SpaceX directement depuis la Lune.
Checking in on the lunar targeting package, the crew is now in their discussion of the limb, seeing the limb of the moon, that illuminated part. Currently at the windows taking photos and making annotations are Victor Glover and Christina Cook.
On a quelle distance de la Lune là? 6826 km. Ça y est, la Lune va passer devant nous. Et on va être très bientôt coupé de nos amis d'ici normalement 14 minutes.
A milestone worth mentioning that this day marks the first time in more than 50 years that humans will observe the moon directly. A critical opportunity to practice.
Ah bah voilà, ils viennent de dire à l'oral que c'est la première fois depuis les missions Apollo que quelqu'un va voir la face cachée de la Lune avec leurs propres yeux. Pour tous ceux qui m'ont dit oui, Fotini, que t'as rien compris à la NASA, parce qu'en fait ils voulaient dire que ça serait complètement illuminé et qu'ils verraient toute la face cachée de la Lune, bah je vous laisse regarder l'image pour vous montrer que bah non, c'est pas totalement illuminé.
First of those is the Lunar Geography Review, which helped the astronauts study major lunar features in advance. That also helps them.
Combien de temps la perte de signal demande DDR? À peu près 40 minutes.
The Lunar Targeting Plan provides a detailed timeline of observation targets, background science context, and specific instructions for the picture the crew should take, and verbal descriptions of what will be helpful to the science team reviewing those pictures later. That's what we've been tracking real time and what the crew is using right now to keep up with their next milestones.
Est-ce qu'on aura repris le signal avant le lever de terre? Bah non, parce qu'il va falloir qu'on soit réaligné avec la Terre pour recapter la capsule. Ils ont intérêt à nous faire une belle vidéo, mais j'espère qu'on verra quand même la Terre coupée par la Lune, juste devant. Le problème, c'est que le croissant de Terre, il est dans l'autre sens. Donc je pense que ça va pas rendre aussi bien que la fameuse photo Apollo 8 qu'on connaît. Est-ce qu'ils vont manger pendant ces 40 minutes? Probablement, on a vu déjà qu'il y a un astronaute qui était en train de manger tout à l'heure.
Integrity Houston, 10 minutes till the LOS. We'll take a snappy sit rep from the cabin if you have one.
Okay, Jenny, that came, we missed most of that, but just a 10-minute warning, is that what you're saying?
Et on précise à la capsule que 10 minutes avant le LOS, Lost of Signal, perte de signal en français. T-moins 10 minutes.
Okay, Jenny, all right, cabin is still full of excitement. We've got Christina in window 2.
10-minute warning for the LOS, and I'll take a quick
window 3.
sit rep from the cabin.
Reed's actually been trying to get some images out of the docking tunnel. We can see the Earth and the Moon and part of the Moon out of the docking tunnel, which is pretty good. And I'm just grabbing some footage right now with our interior cameras. We've got Christina in window 2, Ike in window, or Victor in
Copy, Jeremy. We'd like to know what camera Reed is using and also the status of window 1. Looks like there might be a shroud removed.
Part of the moon out of the docking tunnel, which is pretty good. And I'm just grabbing some footage right now with our interior cameras.
Donc toujours de l'enthousiasme dans la capsule. Les deux sont sur les hublots 2 et 3 en train de prendre des photos.
The t-shirt shroud is still on window 1, but we took the camera out of it. So maybe that's what you're noticing.
On
But
veut
when I
avoir
looked
des
in
infos
there,
sur
I
la
saw a lot of
fenêtre
sunlight
numéro
reflecting
1.
around.
Copy, that makes a lot of sense to us, Jeremy. I want to remind you, coming up on this LOS, it will take sit reps in the blind, and as more and more of the moon is in darkness, we will take any report you have on impact flashes.
Donc du coup on a...
Copy, that makes a lot of sense to us, Jeremy.
Ok, en fait ils lui ont demandé ce qui se passe sur la fenêtre 1, ils ont mis un t-shirt, ils ont enlevé la caméra tout simplement parce qu'ils avaient trop de reflets avec la lumière du soleil.
Alright, Eddie, you have to say again your last. There's a lot of conversation here, and I was on the other side of the cabin, so I missed all of it.
Look out for impact flashes, and we'll take sit reps in the blind.
Okay, impact flashes, sit reps in the blind. We got it. A lot of conversation here, and I was on the other side of the cabin. And yeah, just so you understand what's going on with window 1, there is light.
Merci Rosering pour ton don de qualité, merci pour ce moment inoubliable. Bah, merci à vous, un peu live, un peu calme par rapport à d'habitude, ceux qui connaissent bien une Infotimique. Oh, il y a la lune et la terre là. Oh là là, on arrête tout là.
Copy.
On arrête tout, image exceptionnelle. Attendez. Là, c'est stylé, là, c'est stylé, là. Petite capsule Orion, petite lune, petite planète Terre. Ah là, double croissant, là. Double croissant, les amis. Ah, ça fait plaisir. Là, c'est de toute beauté. Là, je parle plus, je profite, hein. Non, c'est stylé ou c'est pas stylé? Franchement. On est tous sur la photo là. On est tous sur la photo.
This is a live view from the Orion spacecraft.
En direct. Et en plus, bah, du coup, là, on va bien voir le mouvement. Parce qu'on a voilà, un nouveau point. Allez, coucher de terre sur la Lune. Ça, les amis, ça s'est pas vu depuis 1972.
You can see the moon is starting to get a little bit dimmer as the astronauts are going to pass behind it. Now 6 minutes and 26 seconds away from that loss of signal.
Et 6 minutes avant la perte de signal. Allez, on a 6 minutes de beauté.
You are 6 minutes from your 40-minute lunar flyby, LOS. From all of us, it's a privilege to witness you carrying the fire past our farthest reach. Thank you. Godspeed. Integrity Houston, you are 6 minutes from your 40-minute lunar flyby.
Thank you for that, Jenny. And thank you to
Houston à Integrity, vous êtes 6 minutes avant la perte de communication. C'est un privilège de travailler avec vous. Merci et Godspeed.
Go on this journey thinking about the NASA mission to explore the unknown and air in space for this, Jenny.
Merci pour ça, Jenny. Et merci à tout le monde de pouvoir être sur dans cette aventure privilégiée et d'être dans l'espace pour le bénéfice de l'humanité, pour inspirer tout le monde autour du monde. Et on s'approche du point le plus proche de la Lune et du point le plus loin de la Terre. Et on veut vous rappeler l'un des plus grands mystères actuellement sur Terre, l'amour. Et on dit aimez votre voisin comme vous-même.
Houston copies. We'll see you on the other side.
Et à tous ceux en bas sur Terre et autour de la Terre, nous vous aimons depuis la Lune. C'est un message qui nous est aussi adressé.
Houston copies. We'll see you on the other side.
Et on se revoit de l'autre côté. C'est ce qui vient d'être dit. Je pense que ces mots n'ont pas été prononcés depuis plus de 50 ans, les amis. Ça y est, on y est. 4 humains vont se retrouver complètement coupés du monde. C'est le cas de le dire. Et j'ai bien aimé qu'ils disent qu'ils aimaient tous ceux qui étaient sur la Terre et autour de la Terre. Ils n'ont pas oublié les astronautes qui sont actuellement dans la station spatiale internationale et dans la station chinoise. Petit coucher de terre depuis la Lune, ça fait longtemps qu'on l'a pas vu.
Glover touching on the teachings of Jesus, including to love your neighbor as yourself. We are now less than 3 minutes
Donc il a cité Jésus.
with the Orion astronauts.
Aimez vos voisins comme vous-même, aimez-vous les uns les autres comme disaient les inconnus.
40 minutes as they are on the other side of the moon, continuing their work photographing the lunar surface, and they will reemerge, and we will also get this view on the other side.
Vous n'avez pas besoin que j'enlève ma tête pour faire des captures, on aura les images de la NASA. De bonne qualité. Ils vont nous filer des bonnes images, vous inquiétez pas. Mais sinon, je vous laisse quelques secondes. Vous êtes prêts? C'est parti.
Just about a minute and a half now until we lose communication with the
Et encore une minute et demie avant de perdre le contact avec la mission Artemis. Et on va vraiment voir un coucher de terre sur la Lune.
And this really beautiful view of a crescent moon and a crescent Earth. How great thou art.
Là, on est sur le moment frisson, les amis. Et c'est perdu. Contact perdu avec... Ah, retrouvé. Le signal se fait sporadique.
30 seconds now until we expect loss of signal.
Oh, on a la petite dernière frame là. Vraiment, la Terre se cache avec le petit croissant. Et le signal est perdu comme prévu. Et le signal sera perdu pendant à peu près 40 minutes. 40 minutes sans contact avec la Terre.
And we have confirmation of loss of signal of the Orion spacecraft as it flies behind the moon. We expect to regain communications with them for in another approximately 40 minutes.
Limite c'est stressant, hein. Limite c'est stressant.
Spacecraft is now out of direct line of sight with Earth and behind the moon. And this is a poignant moment as it's the first time in over
Et donc on est actuellement
that we have humans completely
derrière la Lune,
unreachable by anyone
caché.
else on Earth. No matter how distant or secluded,
C'est à peu près l'image qu'on a vue comme ça. Hop. On a à peu près vu ça.
This is a live view inside the Science Evaluation Room here at Johnson Space Center and just down the hall from Mission Control. This team has been monitoring the science or the flyby all day as the team has continued
Et c'est
capturing
parti,
targets
40
on the
minutes.
lunar surface.
Donc pendant ces 40 minutes, ils vont quand même passer deux choses un peu exceptionnelles, hein, puisque à 1h02 précisément, ils seront au point le plus proche de la Lune, donc à 6550 km d'altitude par rapport à la Lune. Et ensuite, à 1h07, Orion va atteindre la distance maximale par rapport à la Terre, normalement 406 772 km. Donc en quelques minutes, ils vont aligner deux points importants de leur mission. Et ensuite, à 1h25, eh ben, on verra ce qui va se passer, mais on devrait voir le lever de Terre cette fois, sachant que le côté qui nous intéresse, eh bien, il est dans le noir. Donc je suis pas sûr qu'on voit tout de suite la Terre apparaître, mais on va voir progressivement le croissant apparaître. Donc ça va être plutôt très stylé. Le moment est solennel. Solennel. N'hésitez pas les amis à vous abonner, cliquez sur la clochette de notification pour être au courant des vidéos, de la sortie des vidéos. Laissez le petit pouce en bas pour le travail. Le petit commentaire si vous êtes en replay. Merci à tous. On est 102 820. Ils ont mis de la musique. Oui, ils ont mis de la musique. Je suis obligé de couper le temps que la musique passe. Voilà, des belles images. J'ai hâte de voir les images en HD. Ça va être très 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 stylé. On nous rappelle le Deep Space Network qui permet la communication. Il y a des antennes françaises également qui participent pour info. Et j'imagine tout autour du monde. Et qu'est-ce que je voulais dire? Ouais, n'hésitez pas à me joindre aussi sur les autres réseaux sociaux. Ufotinic, UFO, TNIK pour l'actualité spatiale. Vous avez X, Instagram, Facebook. Vous avez ufotinic.com. Je ne l'ai pas dit, mais si, voilà, c'est le moment de perdre de... Donc c'est le moment de faire de la pub, puisque c'est le moment où on perd l'équipage. Si vous voulez un petit patch brodé commémoratif, et bien de la mission actuelle, et ben vous pouvez le commander sur ufotinic.com, rubrique patch Artemis 2. On livre dans le monde entier, peu importe où vous êtes, et ça sera un patch comme ça, mais un peu plus grand, plutôt comme ça. Hop, je vais en récupérer un. Voilà, ici le patch SpaceX 10, c'est un patch plus grand, avec ici un petit morceau de tissu scratch, voilà, comme ça vous pouvez le mettre si vous avez un vêtement sans tissu. Sinon vous pouvez le mettre comme ça. Si vous avez un scratch, vous pouvez mettre un scratch. Sinon vous avez la petite pièce en tissu qui vous permet de le faire. Et puis vous recevez un petit autocollant pour les 100 premières commandes. Vous avez le petit autocollant holographique en cadeau les amis pour les 100 premières commandes. Voilà, c'est un petit cadeau que vous faites. Ça permet de soutenir la chaîne. Et puis comme ça vous recevez un petit objet physique de la mission Artemis 2. Comme ça, dans quelques années, eh bien, vous vous souviendrez de ce moment. Donc c'est sur ufotinic.com, ufotinik.com. Je peux le mettre peut-être dans le chat. Sauf s'il y a un modérateur qui le fait avant moi. Mais je vais vous mettre le lien dans le chat pour ceux qui veulent. Pour ceux qui ont des problèmes de paiement avec les cartes bancaires, vous pouvez payer par PayPal sans vous inscrire, je crois. Je sais pas pourquoi ça bug un peu les paiements PayPal directement avec carte bancaire, mais voilà. N'hésitez pas. Petit design made in Ufotinic. C'est bon, j'ai fait ma pub de youtubeur. Vous avez mis le pouce vers le haut? Oui. Merci à vous. Bon, bah on va attendre patiemment. Hein. Maintenant, regardez, même la NASA, ils attendent. Je vais me prendre un petit crêpe waouh, je crois. J'ai pas mangé, j'ai faim. Je crois que c'est l'heure chill. C'est l'heure chill. C'est l'heure du live chill. Pas du Nutella, j'aurais dû prendre du Nutella comme eux. Si les astronautes mangent en live, j'ai le droit de manger en live. Eh ben merci Sam Doug, ça c'est du gros don en CHF. Je finis de manger parce que les bruits de bouche c'est horrible. Voir le coucher de la... Alors, pour un moment pareil, il fallait un vrai don. Voir le coucher de terre depuis Orion en live sur la chaîne, c'est juste historique. Merci Fotinic pour la passion de la transmission. Signé un Genevois qui te suit depuis longtemps. Eh bien, salut le Genevois. Merci à toi, Sam Doug, pour ton don de qualité. D'extrême qualité. Et merci pour ton soutien. On n'habite pas très loin. Hein. Genève, c'est vraiment juste à côté de chez moi. Et sur la chaîne, on va surtout voir l'alunissage bientôt. Si dans 2 ans, vraiment, on atterrit sur la Lune, ça va être quand même quelque chose. Eh mais moi j'ai pas une équipe comme ça les amis là. Vous avez vu là toute la clique là avec des perches micro et tout.
Personal standpoint, because looking at the moon from 250,000 miles away, we don't see green or brown. So just hearing that being so close and getting to see that, fascinating, and I know it's very exciting for you. So what are you expecting to see in the upcoming portion of the flyby?
Merci Benzona pour ton soutien, merci à toi pour ton abonnement. Soldir, j'arrive pas à lire, j'ai les yeux qui commencent à partir en cacahuète. Soldiril qui demande à quelle distance minimale vont-ils survoler la Lune? 6550 km d'altitude. À une vache près, c'est pas une science exacte. Est-ce que je fais des rééditions des anciens patchs? Faudrait déjà qu'on arrive à tous les envoyer avant de parler de réédition. C'est la galère. Pour ceux qui se posent des questions sur les patchs, les 11 sont commandés. Ça y est, puisque le fournisseur nous a abandonnés. J'ai enfin trouvé un fournisseur avec une bonne qualité. Donc on a fait des patchs tests. Du coup, normalement, je devrais avoir des infos demain. Ensuite, il faut que je les reçoive chez moi. Il faut prendre une dizaine de jours. Et ensuite, il faut que je les envoie chez vous. Il faut que j'achète une machine pour imprimer des étiquettes, les amis. Donc ça, c'est les patchs 11. Ensuite, je commanderai les patchs 9 manquants, parce qu'il y en a quand même des manquants sur les patchs 9. Donc peut-être ceux-là, j'en ferai plus. Donc je referai une édition des patchs 9. Et ensuite, il n'y aura que les Artemis 2 qui vont partir aussi dans la foulée. Donc après on aura terminé. Et on verra si on fait des rééditions des patchs d'avant. Alors normalement tous les 10 manquants sont partis, Alexandre. Donc normalement, voilà, tout le monde devrait les recevoir. Alors, normalement en France, la plupart m'ont écrit qu'ils les avaient bien reçus cette semaine, enfin la semaine dernière quoi. Je sais qu'en Belgique et Canada, c'est pas encore arrivé. Alors la Belgique, je sais pas pourquoi les Belges qui sont parmi nous, mais vous recevez toujours les trucs 10 ans après tout le monde. Je sais pas si c'est la France qui fait de la rétention de badges pour la Belgique, mais ça met moins de temps à arriver aux États-Unis et au Canada que pour arriver chez nos amis belges. J'ai pas d'explication. Peut-être vous avez des hypothèses, nos amis belges. Merci Jérôme pour ton don. Pourquoi ne pas le faire aux États-Unis pour le décollage la prochaine fois, pour le vol qui les amènera du sol à la Lune? Bon, on verra à ce moment-là pour le grand live, mais on a quand même des bonnes images quand on n'est pas sur site. Ça demande quand même une logistique assez incroyable. Merci Théo pour ton don de qualité. On me dit en Belgique qu'on a eu des grèves. D'accord, ok, vous avez des grèves. Vous nous copiez en fait. Est-ce que j'aimerais faire une sortie extravéhiculaire un jour? Je suis pas sûr d'avoir envie de respirer pendant 6 heures de l'oxygène pur avant de sortir dehors. Par contre, si c'est en mode on enfile une combi et on sort, ouais, pas de problème. Eh, les sorties extravéhiculaires, c'est pas si simple que ça. Hein. Voilà, ça défile trop vite, j'arrive plus à répondre vos questions. Ils passent derrière la Lune dans combien de temps? Ils sont derrière la Lune là, actuellement, c'est pour ça qu'on blablate. On attend qu'ils ressortent. Ils ressortent à 1h25 précisément. Ça va passer vite. Thierry qui demande pourquoi on fait pas les patchs en PVC. Je sais pas, c'est plus stylé, non tissé ou brodé. Qu'est-ce que vous en pensez? Merci Tulosor pour ton sponsor crêpe. Non, monter la SLS là, on n'en va pas avoir le temps là. Non, c'est pas des patchs NASA Defender, c'est des patchs qu'on fait nous. Avec notre propre design. Mais il y a des patchs NASA disponibles sur le site de la NASA si jamais. Merci Théo pour ton cadeau qui a été reçu par Cyberchrist. Cyberchrist, ouais c'est ça. Chris. Il n'y a pas de T. Il y a Moore qui nous demande comment ils font avec la capsule pour traverser toutes les couches avant d'arriver dans l'espace sans percuter des satellites ou des déchets. Alors déjà, il y a des gens dont c'est le travail de vérifier les trajectoires et de voir s'il y a des satellites au passage ou pas. Ensuite, la représentation que nous en font les journalistes et même des spécialistes, des professionnels du spatial, avec cette fameuse image complètement recouverte de débris et de satellites autour de la Terre, c'est une image un peu faussée dans le sens où les points qui sont sur ces images-là, ils sont hyper grands. Ça serait la taille, par exemple, d'un département français, pour te donner une idée, alors que les satellites sont beaucoup plus petits. Donc en fait, il y a beaucoup de place quand même entre les satellites. C'est pas aussi catastrophique que ce qu'on peut voir sur ce genre d'image, mais il y a quand même des gens qui ont pour rôle de vérifier où sont les satellites. Donc les satellites répertoriés, ça c'est bon. C'est vrai que les déchets, au-delà d'une certaine taille, on les suit, mais en dessous d'une certaine taille, ça devient beaucoup plus compliqué. Et donc il y a toujours des risques de ces petits débris qui vont vite. Mais voilà, sur les trajectoires, on va faire en sorte déjà de ne pas partir dans un satellite, puisqu'on maîtrise ce genre de trajectoire. L'avantage dans l'espace, c'est que la plupart des objets, c'est quand même assez, sauf impact et sauf débris, les trajectoires sont assez connues à l'avance. Alors maintenant, ça change un peu, parce qu'il y a des satellites militaires qui sont capables d'aller intercepter d'autres satellites. Donc des fois, on voit des satellites qui font hop, et d'un coup, boum, ils montent en altitude comme ça. Et à mon avis, ceux-là, personne prévient qu'ils vont bouger à un instant T. Donc j'ose espérer que ceux qui s'amusent à faire des petites manœuvres comme ça, ils s'assurent qu'il n'y a rien de dangereux au passage. Mais après, à part SpaceX qui envoie un nombre de fusées assez phénoménal, c'est vrai que il n'y a pas non plus encore trop de lancements de fusées. Et encore, j'exagère parce que SpaceX, franchement, ils envoient tellement de fusées que 162 l'année dernière. Donc ça commence quand même à faire du mouvement là-haut, quoi. Mais voilà, il y a des gens qui sont dédiés à ça, c'est leur job, et pour l'instant, il n'y a pas eu trop d'incidents. Et après, les satellites, une fois qu'ils sont en orbite, ils ont des systèmes, divers systèmes, soit on se prévient à l'avance, soit des systèmes automatisés là qui commencent à se développer de plus en plus pour éviter les collisions. Merci Brigade qui dit dans 20 ans on aura l'homme sur Mars. Franchement, si on a l'homme sur Mars dans 20 ans, on peut se réjouir. J'espère avant. Moi je serai trop vieux dans 20 ans les gars. Il faut que Toto et Elon ils se dépêchent là. Adrien dit que font les astronautes pendant cette phase. Probablement ils vont prendre des photos, mais aussi ils ont dit qu'ils allaient manger. Donc on a vu certains qui mangeaient déjà tout à l'heure. Donc je pense qu'ils vont manger et puis faire une petite pause aussi, parce qu'ils ont bossé quand même pas mal de temps d'affilée. Puis ensuite ils vont reprendre leur travail, notamment à 2h35 du matin. Alors déjà on va les récupérer dans 23 minutes maintenant. Et puis ensuite, ils vont à 2h35 avoir du travail avec l'éclipse solaire, qui va quand même durer jusqu'à 3h32 du matin. Et à 3h20, ce sera la fin des observations lunaires. Et pour les récompenser, je crois que demain, ils sont off. Ils vont aller se coucher, puis ensuite, ils seront en jour de repos. Ils auront le droit de jouer au Monopoly. Je ne sais pas ce qu'ils vont faire. Apparemment, ils vont manger du Nutella, ça on l'a compris, ils ont bien raison, voilà. Petite image du flyby, donc du survol. Ils sont actuellement à côté du Aitken Crater. Alors j'avoue que la Lune, je connais pas la géographie. J'ai toujours été mauvais en géographie déjà sur Terre, même si je connais quand même pas mal de pays, mais j'avoue que la géographie lunaire et en plus de la face cachée de la Lune... Celle-là, je pense qu'on n'est pas nombreux à la connaître sur Terre. Le Tsiolkovski cratère. Moscoviense bassin, Mars Miti, Mar Crisium, la mer des crises. La mer de la tranquillité, celui-là on la connaît bien. La sélénographie, on me dit. Ça existe, sélénographie? J'aime bien apprendre des nouveaux mots.
We're live in Mission Control Houston at NASA's Johnson Space Center, but there's a team over 750 miles away also monitoring today's operation. And of course, just like us, they are in LOS, or loss of signal with the spacecraft. This is LUCA, the Lunar Utilization Control Area, and it's joined by LISA, the Lander Engineering Support Area, which are 20
Diablo demande à quel moment ils vont chuter vers la Terre. Ils chutent déjà vers la Terre, techniquement. Après, si ta question c'est à quel moment ils vont arriver à leur apogée et repartir vers la Terre, eh bien, ce sera à peu près à 1h07 du matin. Donc dans 2 minutes. Pour l'instant, ils ont normalement atteint le point le plus proche de la Lune il y a 3 minutes. Et maintenant, d'ici 2 minutes, ils auront atteint la distance maximale qui devrait être de 406 772 km depuis la Terre. Ouais, Seb, pour la CB, je sais pas pourquoi ça marche pas. Il faut passer par PayPal. Normalement, t'as pas besoin de t'inscrire normalement par PayPal. Est-ce que c'est possible qu'un des astronautes de ce vol puisse marcher sur la Lune en 2028 Je pense pas. C'est possible. Mais je pense qu'ils vont choisir d'autres gens. Mais ça reste une possibilité. En tout cas, ils sont totalement aptes à être sélectionnés s'il y avait besoin. Va-t-on voir le drapeau américain flotter? Non, parce que tous les drapeaux sont blancs maintenant à cause des radiations. Donc il n'y a plus de drapeau américain sur la Lune. Et dans 1 minute, ils auront atteint le point le plus lointain jamais atteint par des êtres humains de la planète Terre. Donc c'est pas rien, c'est pas anodin. Ça y est, normalement, Orion est à la distance maximale. Eh ben, félicitations les gars. Ce sont les êtres humains qui vous imaginez, depuis le début de l'humanité quand même, eh bien, c'est la première fois que des humains sont aussi loin. Voilà, à ce moment où on parle. C'est-à-dire, retenez chacun ce que vous faites aujourd'hui. Personne n'a jamais été aussi loin dans toute l'histoire de l'humanité. Dans toute l'histoire de l'univers même. Quel risque qu'ils ne reviennent pas, demande Stéphane. Pas de risque puisqu'ils sont sur une trajectoire qui les ramènera dans tous les cas. Alors sauf explosion en 1000 morceaux de leur vaisseau. Est-ce qu'ils ont une liaison avec l'ISS? Non. Mimouna qui dit ce blackout m'angoisse. C'est vrai que c'est stressant les blackouts. Bah écoute, dans moins de 20 minutes, on va entendre leur douce voix et pouvoir observer notre lever de terre. Est-ce qu'il y avait un projet de communication dans le programme Artemis pour éviter ce blackout? Ouais, il va y avoir des projets de mini-constellation autour de la Lune de communication. Un peu à la Starship. À la Starlink, pardon. Les Biéraux qui nous dit ils vont atteindre le périgée de leur pérégrination. Très poétique. UFO, tu fais 100% de part de marché. Actuellement. 100% de part de marché de quoi? Ils dorment dans quelle position? Alors ils ont un peu chacun trouvé leur coin. Et Christina, elle dort par le puits qui servira plus tard, le tunnel où il y a le système d'amarrage. Et elle dort la tête en bas comme ça au milieu des autres. Voilà, ils ont trouvé leur petit coin douillet. Caroline qui dit je comprends pas comment c'est eux qui sont allés plus loin alors qu'il y a déjà eu des humains dessus. Bah parce que si tu es ça c'est la Terre, ça c'est la Lune. Si je suis sur la Lune, tu vois la distance là, bah si je suis derrière la Lune, bah je suis plus loin que la Lune. Voilà pourquoi. Et c'est Apollo 13 qui avait le record avant pour des mauvaises raisons. Je vous invite à regarder le film Apollo 13 avec Tom Hanks si vous ne l'avez pas vu. Le petit Nicolas sont-ils capables de marcher après 10 jours en apesanteur? Oui, ils sont capables de marcher après 10 jours en apesanteur, sachant qu'ils font quand même du sport dans leur machine, ils ont dans leur cabine, dans leur capsule, pardon, ils ont un système pour pouvoir faire du sport et éviter justement les pertes de muscles et l'ostéoporose aussi. Perte de densité osseuse qui commence assez vite quand on arrive en apesanteur. Merci pour les commandes de patch les amis. « 1h12. Bah, ils ont pas mis le son. Ah, ça y est. Ils avaient oublié de mettre le son. Mais j'ai coupé parce qu'ils mettent de la musique. Je peux pas... Avec YouTube, c'est compliqué. 1h12. Allez, 1h25, on récupère le... Allo Houston, ici, la Lune. Est-ce qu'il y aura des cacahuètes, demande Vladimir. Je pense pas, les cacahuètes c'est pour le JPL, c'est une tradition du JPL qu'on a vu sur Persévérance, où effectivement ils mangent des cacahuètes pendant les phases critiques des missions, ça fait partie de leur tradition, pour leur porter chance. Farjo qui revient, je reviens peut-être un peu sur sur un sujet déjà traité, mais c'est quoi les télécabines qui partent du pas de tir lors du lancement d'Artemis? C'est pas des télécabines, c'est les tyroliennes qui permettent d'évacuer les gens sur le site, puisque la fusée est chargée d'ergols quand les astronautes vont s'installer. C'est un système d'évacuation rapide du pas de tir avec une tyrolienne, et donc effectivement ils sont activés au moment du décollage. Lors d'Apollo 13, il n'y avait pas eu un astronaute qui est resté en orbite autour de la Lune, donc théoriquement il a déjà eu un humain aussi loin. Non, parce que Apollo 13 c'est la mission où les astronautes ne sont pas allés sur la Lune en raison d'un problème. C'est eux qui sont allés le plus loin parce qu'on leur a mis une trajectoire qui passait derrière la Lune et plus loin. Il faut savoir que la distance Terre-Lune fluctue, elle n'est pas toujours la même. Et donc en 1970, avec Apollo 13, eh bien, l'équipage avait effectivement battu le record, mais il a été battu ce soir à 19h56, et l'équipage s'est encore plus éloigné, et donc ils vont être à 406 772 km de la Terre. Martha Pêcheur, quelle est la partie la plus risquée de la mission? Je dirais le décollage et la rentrée atmosphérique. Au point où on en est maintenant dans la mission. Je conseille quel Apollo en film? Il n'y en a eu qu'un. Je crois Apollo 13. Après, il y a eu plein de documentaires sur Apollo 11 et tout. Moi, je regarde tout, donc ils sont tous bien. Apollo 13, ça reste pas du documentaire, hein, c'est du cinéma stressant, parce que la mission Apollo 13, ça a quand même été quelque chose de spécial. First Man aussi est pas mal, effectivement. First Man, après si vous aimez les films de science-fiction, Interstellar bien sûr. Mais pour d'autres raisons, Seul sur Mars aussi, j'aime bien Seul sur Mars. Mais il y a pas mal de films qui sont pas mal... on a de la chance. Après il y a pas mal de bouses aussi. Il y a pas mal de films un peu chelous sur l'espace. Ça fait longtemps que j'ai pas vu, mais Armageddon en termes de aventure super guerriers qui vont sauver l'humanité, c'est pas mal aussi, non? Total Recall, ouais, bah, dans un style vraiment très différent, Total Recall, mais je sais pas si ça a bien vieilli, Total Recall. Ils en ont fait un remake, ou en tout cas un 2, je crois. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on nous dit? 16, allez, encore moins de 10 minutes pour récupérer le contact avec les astronautes. Don't Look Up, c'est pas vraiment un film spatial, effectivement, mais ça tire dans le domaine spatial. On va dire que c'est plus centré sur les humains et leurs réactions, je pense. For All Mankind, ouais, j'ai pas fait les 2 dernières saisons encore. J'ai pas fait les 2 dernières saisons. J'aimerais bien voir The Expanse aussi. J'avais commencé à mater la saison 1, mais ils les avaient virés de Netflix, je crois. Si je dis pas de bêtises. Et du coup... Mais The Expanse, c'est pas mal, parce que ça parle vraiment de la différence. Quand on va commencer à aller sur des planètes, le fait de faire naître des bébés sur Mars, ça va causer beaucoup de problèmes. Mais Apollo 13, c'est un peu différent des autres parce que finalement, c'est vraiment une biographie d'un événement qui s'est passé réellement, quoi. Et en plus, c'est un événement catastrophe, donc c'est un peu un film avec pas mal d'aventures. Même si tout se passe dans une capsule avec 3 mecs. Hein. Stargate, ouais, Stargate c'est différent, c'est bien aussi Stargate. Hein. The 100 aussi, effectivement, qui était pas mal. Ça, pareil, c'est des prétextes. L'espace est un prétexte à décrire l'être humain, plutôt. Battlestar Galactica, ça, c'est le top du top, les amis. Je pense que c'est la série la plus étrange du monde, mais que tout le monde à laquelle tout le monde accroche. Alors que c'est une série qui est construite de manière où normalement personne ne peut accrocher. C'est hyper lent. Ils ont vraiment essayé de respecter entre guillemets le fait qu'il n'y ait pas de son dans l'espace. Alors ils ont quand même fait du son sur les missiles et tout, mais voilà, c'est hyper étrange. Si on prend ça vraiment, on passe devant la télé, on regarde Battlestar Galactica, on se dit c'est quoi ce truc chelou? Mais en vrai, Battlestar Galactica, c'est vraiment une dinguerie, quoi. Mais c'est une série dangereuse parce que c'est le genre de série où tu peux passer des week-ends à tout mater parce que tu peux pas finir sur un épisode. Donc effectivement, Battlestar Galactica. En jeu vidéo, Outer Wild, j'ai fait le 1 et le 2. Moi, j'aime bien. Il y a plein de gens qui aiment pas. Mais ça reste du RPG avec, encore une fois, l'espace comme excuse. Mais moi, j'aime bien. Mais il y a plein de gens qui aiment pas. Donc, faut voir. Starship Trooper, ça c'est marrant. Ouais. Starship Trooper, c'est vrai. Je me le remate de temps en temps, Starship Trooper, c'est vraiment stylé. « 1h19 du matin. Bah écoutez, on va commencer à écouter les canaux. Bon, ils ont pas l'air très stress pour l'instant. Ils ont pas l'air... Ils ont pas l'air... voilà. J'ai un doute si on n'a pas vu Philippe Berthe à l'image, pour ceux qui ont l'habitude de la chaîne, quelqu'un qui vous sera pas inconnu. Je me demande si on l'a pas vu partir sur la gauche là de l'image. Allez, témoin 4 minutes avant la reprise de contact. Vous croyez qu'on a vu Philippe là ou pas? Non, peut-être pas. On lui demandera. Bon, bah, en tout cas, normalement, maintenant, ils sont repartis pour accélérer et revenir sur Terre, hein, même si on les voit plus, puisqu'ils ont atteint l'apogée, le point le plus élevé de leur trajectoire à 1h07. Et donc maintenant, bah, effet inverse, hein, quand on s'approche de l'apogée, on ralentit. Et bah, quand on part de l'apogée et qu'on va vers le périgée, le point le plus bas de notre orbite, qui sera en l'occurrence la planète Terre, eh bien, on va, de notre trajectoire du coup, on va aller tout simplement, on va accélérer sans moteur. C'est ça qui est beau. Et on va, du coup, bah là, on est en train de se rediriger vers la planète Terre. Hop, si on fait ça, on retourne ici. On est normalement dans cette position-là. Donc, vous voyez, on va pas tarder à sortir et à récupérer le point de vue de la planète Terre. Et on est déjà en train de reprendre de l'altitude par rapport à la Lune. Mais on s'en fout un peu parce que la Lune, de toute façon, elle va se barrer vers la droite. Et puis nous, on va aller perdre de l'altitude, surtout vis-à-vis de la planète Terre. On va se rapprocher tout simplement et notre vitesse va augmenter. Allez, on retourne sur le live de la NASA et on croise les doigts. C'est moins 2 minutes avant le lever de terre et la navette qui rappelle. Allez, on croise les doigts, on attend le petit message.
Quite a lot of great descriptions from the crew who have been serving as the support. Right now, the support team members are Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen. Those team members are providing science sit reps, situation reports. calling down a few times each hour to discuss what they're observing. And even though we're out of contact with them right now, they are still conducting those science sit reps as they'll be available once they come back around the moon. The situation reports include how the crew is positioned, any missed targets, or anything unexpected they saw. They're also including lunar target descriptions, any hardware issues, and their emotions and reactions. Again, we are standing by to acquire signal from the Orion spacecraft.
Applaudissements et les applaudissements. Allez, c'est parti. Ah. Je sais pas, j'ai vu des applaudissements, mais la lune a disparu. J'imagine qu'ils ont confirmation.
We're in the Artemis Mission Control Room at Johnson Space Center, getting our preliminary contact with Orion, that acquisition of signal coming after a 40-minute loss of signal, during which the crew was flying behind the moon, out of contact with anyone on Earth.
On est d'accord qu'on n'a pas entendu de communication avec l'équipage là.
We are getting our first views from Orion after the loss of signal. Orion has come back around the other side of the moon, and that little crescent that you see is Earth, over 252,000 miles away.
On revoit la Terre, bonne nouvelle.
With this transit complete, lunar flyby continues, but Orion has also technically begun its journey home.
Merci William pour ton don de qualité.
Right now, the crew are getting a few moments to enjoy and take photos of Earthrise for themselves, and we expect to contact them shortly.
Donc ils sont en train de prendre des photos du... La lune elle doit être là, mais moi je vois rien avec... Oh là là. Ils sont en train de prendre des photos du lever de terre.
This view from inside the Orion spacecraft, all 4 astronauts now back on the other side of the moon and in contact with us on Earth. Their tasks for lunar flyby did not stop as they went behind
Ah, ça y est, on a des images de l'équipage à l'intérieur de la capsule.
During that time, they were attempting to image some impact flashes,
Houston,
on the lunar surface,
integrity,
which would be
comp
caused
check.
by impact bombardment and potentially...
Integrity, we have you loud and clear. How many?
Right now, of course, they
Donc ils ont essayé de prendre des photos des impacts que la Lune prend pendant qu'ils étaient dans la pénombre.
Houston, we have you the same.
Ah, s'ils avaient réussi à choper à la photo un impact sur la Lune, ça va être stylé.
We
Ah.
are looking back
Ça y est,
video.
Houston
You can
Integrity
look up
comme
and see the
check.
moon right now.
Et on
See you
vous
too.
entend loud and
When we
clear.
burned this burn towards the moon, I said that we do not
Ils
leave
sont de
Earth,
retour.
so we choose this. And that is true. We will explore,
Et
we
c'est
will
super
build,
cool d'entendre la planète Terre de nouveau.
we will construct science outposts, we will drive rovers, we will do radio astronomy.
Maintenant, vous pouvez
We
nous
will
voir,
found
mais
companies.
nous aussi,
We
on
will
vous
boast
voit.
our industry. We will inspire. But ultimately, we will always choose Earth. We will always choose each other.
On va explorer, on va construire.
Integrity from Earth, our single system, fragile and interconnected.
On
We
va
copy.
construire des avant-postes, on va conduire des rovers,
We will inspire. But
on va inspirer
we will always choose Earth. We will always choose each other.
et on choisira toujours la Terre et se choisira toujours les uns les autres.
Single system, fragile and interconnected. We copy. Those of us that can are looking back.
We are happy to say we copy.
On est heureux de dire qu'on vous a entendu, qu'on a compris.
Those first communications back with the astronauts aboard Orion. Christina Cook calling back to what she said just before translunar.
Il ne leur reste plus que 406 677 à faire pour revenir sur Terre.
Not only what put them on this trajectory to fly around the moon, but what also committed them to splashing down in the Pacific Ocean on flight day 10. At this time, the crew is entering an observation break. We expect this to last about an hour, and it's probably a welcomed break following their very, very busy day taking pictures, making annotations, making audio recordings, and communicating all of the wonderful things that they are seeing on the moon. This observation break is also partially due to the fact that we will be entering an eclipse later. This will be the first solar eclipse that humans have seen from the moon.
Salut Peggy Goat.
Astronauts will need to wear eclipse glasses for the first 2 minutes until
Salut
the sun
Brangy.
is completely covered by the moon. And then they have additional targets that the science team is hoping that they will photograph. We will have communications with them during that eclipse time frame.
Et on a récupéré les images de la capsule, malheureusement. L'attitude est en train de changer d'orion, tout simplement pour que ces panneaux solaires soient bien alignés et pouvoir recharger les batteries.
This view on your screen is a visualization. The spacecraft now 4,224 miles away from the moon, and that number will now continue to grow.
Et ça y est, on est parti. La capsule va réaccélérer sans moteur, hein, je le rappelle, puisqu'on va se rapprocher on va quitter l'apogée et se rapprocher du périgée. Et eh bien, on va perdre des kilomètres en direction de la Terre. On va se rapprocher de plus en plus en prévision de l'amérissage. L'amérissage qu'on suivra en direct sur la chaîne YouTube, je le rappelle, dans la nuit de vendredi à samedi. L'amérissage qui est prévu à 2h07 GMT plus 2 heures de Paris, donc 2h07 heure de Paris. On suivra ça avec attention. Le début des opérations devrait avoir lieu à 19h50 et l'allumage de désorbitation devrait avoir lieu normalement peut-être à 1h37 du matin, je crois. Et ensuite, eh bien, on aura la rentrée atmosphérique et l'alunissage et l'amérissage de nos 4 astronautes de la mission Artemis qui n'ont pas fini leur travail pour cette nuit puisque ils vont devoir attendre un petit peu. Vous voyez la lune, le soleil, la capsule et eh bien ils vont avoir une éclipse solaire à 2h35 entre 2h35 et 3h32 du matin. Le soleil qui passera derrière la lune d'un point de vue de l'équipage. Ils vont devoir travailler à ce moment-là et ensuite à 3h20 fin des observations lunaires. Alors les amis, ça fait déjà 5 heures qu'on est ensemble, long live de 5 heures. Je pense qu'on va pouvoir s'arrêter là, comme ça demain on va pouvoir aller au travail en ayant dormi un tout petit peu. Et comme je vous le disais, maintenant ça va être assez calme puisque eh bien, l'équipage va continuer à travailler un peu. Et puis à 2h35, l'éclipse solaire. Je sais pas si les caméras vont la filmer ou pas selon justement l'orientation des panneaux solaires. Bon, on verra ça demain, mais c'est encore dans une petite heure et ils vont pouvoir prendre en photo eh bien, cet événement assez spectaculaire. Merci en tout cas à tous d'avoir été là. J'espère que vous avez apprécié ce moment en ma compagnie. Petit live un petit peu calme, hein. Voilà, on était un peu chill parce que bon, bah, ça allait durer 5 heures, donc il fallait qu'on soit tranquillement. Il fallait qu'on fasse ça tranquillement, voilà, discuter ensemble. J'espère que vous avez apprécié ce moment. N'hésitez pas à vous abonner si vous découvrez la chaîne et rejoindre les 103 000. On a dépassé les 103 000. Merci à tous. Abonnés de qualité. N'hésitez pas à me suivre Ufotinique, UFOTINIKA sur Instagram, Facebook et Twitter, X du coup, selon votre préférence pour l'actualité. Le petite clochette de notification pour être au courant de la sortie des prochaines vidéos. Je mettrai le 11, alors je mettrai la vidéo en ligne peut-être demain du coup, pour que vous puissiez mettre un rappel dessus. En termes de lancements spatiaux, est-ce qu'on va se revoir? Je vérifie ça.
Tele Quisqueya,
pour les lancements.
la marche à suivre. Et t'es branché, et te connecté. Tele Quisqueya.
A very special moment just now in Mission Control. Ahead of the crew's flight to Kennedy Space Center and during one of their last sims or simulations here, they visited the Mission Control team in Artemis Mission Control in Houston and brought us each a patch. Everyone in the flight control room has had these on their signifiers at their console. On one side of the patch that you've probably seen is the moon with the Earth behind it. Now that we are we've passed behind the moon and we are returning home. The flight control team has instructed everyone in the room to switch their patch around so that the Earth is closer and the moon is behind us. We are really looking forward to seeing the Artemis II crew. And the Capcom, Jenny Gibbons, did call that update up to the crew that the flight control team here has turned their patches around, as was instructed by the crew during that last sim. And we are counting down the days until they get home. They are now 5 days, 1 hour, and 3 minutes mission elapsed time into the Artemis II mission. Joining me here in the room, Artemis Mission Control, I have Angela Garcia, Artemis II Science Officer. Thanks for being here, Angela.
It is an honor to be here. What a day. Everyone's been buzzing. I can't contain myself. So it's been a really awesome day.
So you're sitting on console at the Science Console now. Have you been in the SIR earlier today?
There's a lot going on. So I went here first, and then I'm going to go there after.
Clear, Houston.
All right, Integrity, we hear you. That was a little clipped, but I think we have a better link now. We experienced some blockage from a solar array. We moved it, and we are in bias tail to sun.
Okay, Houston, you're coming in loud and clear, and copy, we're in bias tail to sun now.
Affirm and Integrity, just so you know, we did not hear your response once we flipped our patches. Jeremy, we heard you call down, but you were clipped, and then we briefly lost comm. Glad we're back.
Okay, copy that. We were just excited that we got to share in that you, the MER, and Mission Control flipped your patches around, and that side of the patch is getting to see the light of day. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Our pleasure.
Okay, Angela, so can you tell me a little bit about your role supporting Artemis II and the science preparation for the mission?
Yes, so I'm one of the 3 science officers. So Kelsey's been on console all day. I'll take over kind of closer to the end of the day. And then Trevor Graff is on the planning shift. And so it's the 3 of us in this 24-hour cycle supporting the mission. And so the science officer console is a brand new console to Mission Control. And it's not every day that you get a new discipline incorporated into Mission Control. So it's been such a significant milestone for us. And it's just a testament to like the commitment that the Flight Operations Directorate and NASA have, that they're going to be integrating science and maximizing science throughout Artemis. So it's really exciting. And then the science preparation, Yeah, so I'm on the operations team, but I'm also on the training team. So all the incredible training and shout outs that you've gotten today, it warms my heart. It warms everybody's heart in the science evaluation worm. I promise you that. But so all the classroom training, the field training, the mission simulations, right? We were part of all of it, and that is what we did to get the crew to be. They are a part of the science team, and they are the forefront, that nice edge, and they're just been doing such a great job today.
I know. I imagine that you have to be pretty proud of them. Their reports have been fantastic. So I would like to know a little bit about how you have developed procedures for this crew. What kind of science activities are they carrying out inside the spacecraft?
Yeah, so the procedure development has been a unique challenge. I would say the exploration science that we're doing is inherently pretty flexible, and operations is, I'd say, inherently has more structure and rigidity. And so to marry the two and to operationalize the science that we want to get done has been a challenge. But I think we've been able to go through these processes and create good products at the end and have a good plan. And yeah, it's been really great. What was the second part of your question?
Just what kind of these science activities that they're performing, which of those have you really had a hand in?
Yeah, so a lot of the procedures help organize what the crew is doing in the cabin. And I know we've talked a lot about what they've been doing, and they've been doing a lot, and it's been a little dark, so I can re-explain what some of those things that they're doing. So the observation blocks are about an hour long, and the crew is organized, the 4 crew members are organized into 2 pairs of 2, the window team and the cabin team. And the lunar targeting package that you've been showing up and that the crew have on their handheld tablets is really the instructions for the window team. So the window team, the 2 crew members are looking out the window. One has the camera with the long lens. One has, they're just looking out the window with their unaided eye, and they're taking these detailed observations. And then halfway in that observation block, they do the window team position swap. So that's what Capcom's been calling out, and they'll switch positions. So each crew member has a chance to have that long lens, and then that's just what the window team is doing. There's also the cabin team, where they also have duties that they're doing. We're asking a lot of the crew in this time, and then the cabin team, they have the interior camera, and they're taking images inside the cabin. They're also supporting the window team, where, you've heard some call-outs where looking out at the bright moon and then looking inside the dark cabin and looking at their LED screen is a lot. So the cabin team is also helping support, target, and guide the window team into specific targets on their plan. They're also helping call out these science situational reps. So they're looking out a different window and listening in to what the crew who are really down and in the science on the window team are doing, and they're giving us insight. And those recordings that the window team is doing are going to be uplinked or downlinked overnight, and we're going to be able to chew on that data. But yeah, they're helping. They're doing a lot, and so making sure we have a plan that's flexible, but also make sure that we check off all those boxes was really important.
So tell me a little bit more. You talked earlier about the analogs that the crew has done. What kind of analogs or environments were really useful for this?
Yeah, so for procedure development, right, you have so many different environments that you can do. You have classroom, like we said, you have the Orion mock-up, you have simulations, and at least for developing the plan, we kind of did it in a tiered approach, because each of those different analog environments helps us answer a slightly different question and has a little bit of a higher fidelity. So we would start with the classroom. So we would we would just get into a classroom, we would put all the hardware on the table, and then we'd almost role play of like, you be Victor, you be Reed, you be Jeremy, and I'll be Christina, and let's just do the plan how we think we should do it. Write that down, and then just keep iterating on that, and then
Integrity Houston for a tag up pre-forward link LOS in place of the Flight Director Conference.
Okay, Jenny, we're ready.
All right, crew, I'm going to roll through a couple of topics here. The first 2 are for timeline. First of all, read for your toilet maintenance. It is a shortened toilet maintenance where you do not have to do the oxone changeout. That portion of the procedure is canceled. Victor, you have an HHP stop activity on your timeline, we need you to perform that as scheduled for bandwidth reasons. For your next portion of the flyby, in particular the eclipse, we want to remind you that you can take off the eclipse glasses when the sun sets and you are simply looking at the corona. And then finally, for the D5 with the long or zoom lens, which is set for solar corona, we want to remind you that when you are capturing Earth shine, you will likely have to adjust the exposure. That's all I have for you. Let me know if you have anything for us.
Okay, Houston, we copy all. Thanks for those words, Sydney.
All right, just a quick call up to the crew ahead of a forward link LOS, meaning that we won't be communicating with them, but we will be receiving their communications and data during that time frame. So, Angela, we were talking about analog environments. You were telling me about the classroom and getting in there and pretending who's Victor, who's Reed. Tell me more about this.
Yeah, it works pretty well. So you're going to do the plan how you expect it to be, and then once we finalize that plan, we'll give it to a completely new group of people and have them practice it, and then they'll be like, these steps don't make sense, and we'll reiterate on it over and over. Then we'll take it to a higher fidelity environment like the Orion mock-up, and we'll do the same thing because that volume is smaller, the window placement, their seating, what things have we forgotten with this addition of this environment. And then once we reiterate on that, we'll take it then, we'll give it to the crew and have them execute off of it during mission simulations. That's the highest fidelity that we can do before we send it to space. So this is the first time we've had to do this because we're a brand new console, and it just sparks so many neurons of like, how are we going to do this for surface missions and integrate this in so many different ways. So excited to have kicked off this process, but there's so much more to come.
Fascinating. And I think it was really well thought out too, because each crew member gets an opportunity to do each task. And so you're getting different perspectives and different insights from each crew member, maybe even about the same target, but something that one person sees could be completely different than something another person notices. So we also know that Artemis 2 has traveled. They're now on their way home, but they traveled farther from the moon than the Apollo missions did. So what makes that vantage point scientifically interesting?
Yeah, observations are so fundamental in the scientific toolkit, particularly observations from different perspectives, different scales, and with different techniques. And so we really tried to make the plan to optimize those. There's pros and cons for all those things for this mission. So we really just focused the plan to have all those pros. So in terms of scale, this zoomed out scale, you can learn different things. This different perspectives. So their perspective, as Kelsey talked about, photometry around when they orbit the moon. And then also just their different the different things they're able to observe. So yeah, let me talk a little bit about scale, because I think observations at different scales, you can gain a lot of different information. So like, for example, if you were an astronaut on the surface looking at a rock, and you describe at this micro scale. So in training, we kind of talk about observations from micro to macro, or from outcrop to orbit. So looking at a rock at this scale, you can describe its components, you can describe what it's made of and its colors and its minerals, and you're like, okay, and this rock came from this boulder, and it's this part of this boulder, and these are the different things that I'm observing around. It gives me context to this sample, and then you zoom out a little bit more, and you're like, okay, well, I can see that this boulder came from, it rolled from this mountain ridge, or this high ridge feature. And then because I can see the trail that it came from, okay, now let me describe this ridge and different parts in it, and maybe other boulders that I'm seeing. And then you zoom out further of the orbit scale, and you're like, this ridge is a part of this larger crater. So all of those different steps give you different information, and so that's why observations at these different scales and these different perspectives are so important. So this zoomed out kind of far view is this full lunar disk view. It's the full lunar. On Earth, we see the full lunar disk as well, but now we're able to see it on the far side, and we're able to see it, all at the same time, which enables the astronauts to compare very quickly to different parts of the surface. And the color particularly is very compelling because you can just be able to very quickly compare from 3 different regions. Is it in the same family? Is this actually a little bit different? Compare that to what they see in their orbital data that they have access to on their portable computers, and really just be able to tease out that nuance and information.
Yeah, we heard them make a lot of those connections today, and especially the color. We talked with Kelsey about this a little bit, just how exciting it was to hear the browns and greens and things like that. I cannot wait to see those pictures. Yeah. So one last question. We are coming up on the last lunar flyby observation block, and this is when we are going into a solar eclipse. So can you tell me what you're interested in the crew learning during that time frame?
Yeah, so the data set, so yes, there's so many things. How to pick one. So I'd say the thing that I'm most interested in seeing is some of their annotations that they're taking. So in this opportunity, it's a very dynamic type of experience in that we don't normally see this activity. And so being able to have crew observe the solar corona and then also annotate it in their on their portable computing device is just such a unique thing that humans can give to missions, and also particularly being able to annotate what they're observing while they're talking about it is also unique to being able to have astronauts in orbit as well, because we won't be able to have annotations on the lunar surface because the astronauts will be in suits. They're going to be collecting samples, they're going to be deploying instruments, and so personally, I'm really excited to see some of these annotations and to see how that develops over time, because you've heard a lot of descriptions, and I think when people are describing something that's unique and different, you can interpret it differently. But if you're drawing and you're marking, particularly just going back to like the color provinces, for example, and those boundaries, you know exactly what they meant. And really, I'm just very excited about those annotations. There's been some famous annotations that the Apollo crew have made, particularly about solar coronas and the structures and lofted dust that have given a lot of debate within the scientific community of they're observing this phenomenon, and now it's our job to hypothesize of like why are they observing this, like what is going on. So I think that's just a really cool part of exploration and science and this beautiful thing that we're about to do.
Well, now you've got me excited about the annotations too. I mean, I've been excited about the pictures and the audio, but now
don't sleep on the annotations. I am very excited to see these little sketches that they're able to draw out, and we have pictures that they can just draw right on as like this particular thing is different than what we've seen. So I'm excited about that.
I'm excited too. Angela Garcia, thank you so much for joining us today, and have a great time tonight on Console.
Thank you, and you've been doing a great job, and so excited to see where we go from here.
Thank you so much.
Depuis petit, li tap gade ciel la. Zétoile yo tap brele li en haut la. Yon rêve nan ke li pa jam mouri. Li ti m'a volé, pi loin passé nuage, oui. Li te travail di,
pas découragé.
chaque jour li t'a monté pi haut.
Jodi a li nan espace à prier.
Yon exemple pour tout monde sous terre.
Vive jouk nan la ligne, pas gen limite encore.
Victor Glover montre nous qui j'en pour nous monter plus haut. Premier pilote noir,
Histoire écrit,
avec courage nan Kelly li di en aller. Dans mission Artemis,
Poli prend direction.
allant tout la ligne li pote lumière.
Côté lumière,
Pour ti moun ka preve sans limite. Li di kwen nan tête ou qu'arriver.
We're live in Artemis Mission Control at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. This a live view from the Orion spacecraft with our Artemis 2 crew inside. That's Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen. We are still live for our lunar flyby coverage. The crew is in a short break while the spacecraft is pivoted away from the moon. We are going to be going into a solar eclipse. This is the first time anyone has ever seen a solar eclipse from the moon. So it's going to be a unique vantage point for our crew. But ahead of heading into that solar eclipse, we need to charge the batteries on the Orion spacecraft. Therefore, we have positioned the solar arrays into the sunlight to allow time for those batteries to charge. We will get back pointed at the moon just in time for that solar eclipse. We are also in a forward link LOS. What that means is essentially we cannot send calls or commands to the crew right now from the ground. However, we clearly get all of their data and communications. The spacecraft is now 4,632 miles away from the moon, and that number will only continue to grow as the distance from Earth shrinks, now 252,523 miles away. Our closest approach to the moon today was approximately 4,067 statute miles in altitude. Our maximum distance from the Earth is suspected to be 252,756 statute miles. Both of those moments came while Orion was flying in their loss of signal time frame behind the moon. The crew also set that new record today, beating the Apollo 13 record of distance from Earth. This is an animation or a visualization that you can track anytime, day or night, by visiting nasa.gov/track-Artemis. This shows you how the spacecraft is positioned as well as their distance and velocity, now traveling 930 miles per hour. During this break in their time today, the crew is working on a couple of other tasks. Some of those include their National Geographic timeline test. National Geographic was selected through a competitive process by NASA to help tell the story of Artemis 2. So you've seen the crew with some GoPros inside the cabin, taking videos and pictures, and with other cameras as well. National Geographic plans to leverage its portfolio of media assets, including magazines, social and digital content, and television programming for engagement opportunities. Throughout the flight, the crew has been timelined a little bit each day to film from a shot list provided by National Geographic, and that includes their morning routine, talking with their families, exercising, and just their overall thoughts about the mission. And I cannot wait to see that footage. Teams on the ground reporting that the spacecraft is looking good and that the power aboard is good as well, all setting us up in a proper position before eclipse. Crew is in a little break during our flyby coverage for today. They will resume their flyby momentarily in about 30 minutes once they get into their observations during that solar eclipse. Now, the moon is our nearest celestial neighbor, orbiting Earth at less than 250,000 miles on average. When our astronauts venture there for future Artemis missions, they'll target landing sites near the lunar South Pole. There, ancient rocks, minerals, and trapped water ice will not only provide resources for human explorers, but they may also contain clues to the formation and evolution of our planet and the solar system. Let's learn more about the lunar South Pole with this video featuring Dr. Kelsey Young, Artemis Science Flight Operations Lead.
We learned a lot from the Apollo samples, but we still have a lot left to learn about the moon. The Apollo missions visited only a pretty narrow swath of the moon. All the missions were concentrated near the near-side equator. Really interesting and really critical insights were unlocked with the Apollo samples, but we have so many questions still to answer about the moon and the evolution of the moon.
And liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
NASA's Artemis missions are NASA's plan to send people to the surface of the moon. We'll be sending people and roving assets and scientific equipment to, among other things, answer a lot of really compelling science questions. Scientists have a lot to learn about the moon. It's our nearest celestial neighbor here to Earth, so what the moon has experienced, we've experienced. Except here on Earth, we have things like plate tectonics, oceans, forests, people that erase the rock record. Whereas on the moon, that whole record of our planet's history, of the moon's history, mystery is just kind of waiting there at the surface for us to explore. The South Pole, which is where Artemis missions are going to target, is specifically interesting for a couple key reasons. We think there are volatiles at the South Pole of the moon that are not present near the equator. Things like water and water ice that are trapped in the lunar regolith, which basically just means lunar soil, that can easily become untrapped from that lunar regolith, and scientists can scoop up and study for return to Earth. The lunar South Pole is a really exciting scientific target, and it also comes with some challenges for operating. For example, the lighting environment will change drastically within the course of one mission, and even over sometimes the course of one spacewalk. So preparing the crew members, preparing the hardware that we're sending to the moon, and preparing the mission control teams is really, really important. The South Pole Aitken Basin is particularly exciting. We think it's one of the oldest and largest impact basins in the solar system. And if we can get the right rock from the South Pole Aitken Basin and bring it back to our labs here on Earth, we can use that sample to constrain the entire evolution of our solar system and really understand the timing of how the moon and our planet and the entire solar system evolved.
We're looking at a live view aboard the Orion spacecraft of the Artemis II crew, working in the middle of one of their breaks, or really their only break today during this lunar flyby period. Coming up next will be that solar eclipse. Throughout the Artemis II mission, and of course throughout today, you've likely heard the crew being called with the name Integrity. The Artemis II crew members named their Orion spacecraft Integrity during a news conference September 24th, 2025. The name Integrity embodies the foundation of trust, respect, candor, and humility across the crew and the many engineers, technicians, scientists, planners, and dreamers required for mission success. They said this name is also a nod to the extensive integrated effort from the more than 300,000 spacecraft components to the thousands of people across the world that must come together to venture to the moon and back, inspire the world, and set the course for a long-term presence at the moon. The crew also said that integrity is rooted in a shared core value of NASA, the agency's astronaut office, and the CSA, the Canadian Space Agency.
We are 5 days, 1 hour, and 38 minutes mission elapsed time into Artemis 2. In this view on the screen, you can see the crew starting to even look through some photos that they may have captured today. We really look forward to sharing these photos with you as soon as we possibly can. And the best way to keep up with those is to follow NASA on social media. You can do so at NASA, and for this mission specifically, at NASA Artemis. And we are in a forward link LOS, or a forward link loss of signal with the crew, meaning that we're not able to communicate or send any commands to them right now as they were. This is a tracked event that occurs at times, but they could still provide communications down here to us. And we are obviously still receiving their video and their data.
Houston integrity in the blind. High priority PAO activities on Reed's timeline are on PCD1 in a folder imagery for downlink, and then high priority standby imagery for downlink, and then lunar flyby for PAO.
This is Artemis Mission Control. You heard Reed Wiseman, commander of the Artemis II mission aboard Orion, make a call in the blind. This means he knows we cannot call back and that he knows we may not receive his call. However, we have good communications with the spacecraft. They just cannot hear from us right now due to a forward link loss of signal. Again, we were tracking that this would occur, and we will regain that momentarily. But that call that came down from Wiseman mentioned some imagery, so we are very much looking forward to getting pictures taken from the moon today. Again, to see those images, make sure you follow NASA on our social media at NASA and at NASA Artemis. The view on your screen right now is an animation. This is called Arrow, or Artemis Real-Time Orbit website. You can visit this for yourself at nasa.gov/trackartemis, and you can watch as we continue to grow closer to Earth and farther away from the moon. It's all seemed to happen so fast so far, and we're coming up on splashdown now in 3 days, 23 hours and 31 minutes. 16 and 17 missions, there were some solar eruptions near that time frame that could have been dangerous to our explorers. Over those 50 years since those storms, the data, technology, and resources available to NASA have improved, enabling advancements towards space weather forecasts and astronaut protection, which is key to NASA's Artemis program to return astronauts to the moon.
Across our planet, billions of people depend on the invisible networks that connect us to space. Every day, those networks are at the mercy of our temperamental sun and the space weather that it unleashes across our solar system. That's why NASA's Space Weather Program tracks solar storms from the moment they erupt, modeling their paths, anticipating their impacts, and leading the research that the world's industries rely on. NASA's space weather research and modeling is driven by the needs of society and enables critical decision-making that equips pilots to reroute around high radiation areas, farmers to adjust GPS-based precision planting and harvesting plans, and power grid operators to mitigate the impacts of potential surges. For those exploring other worlds, NASA provides 24/7 space weather monitoring for Artemis crews at the moon and future Mars astronauts who may be exposed to dangerous levels of radiation during solar storms. Whether you're a pilot or a passenger, a farmer or a consumer, a power grid operator or energy customer, a satellite controller or GPS user, space weather impacts us all.
This is a live view from the Orion spacecraft on the Artemis II mission. It's now been 5 days, 1 hour, and 54 minutes since we launched. We are still in our flyby coverage, and the crew is on a short break right now as we have changed the attitude of the spacecraft to help charge the batteries aboard. We use the solar arrays to gather energy from the sun and store it in the batteries. That way, when we are not in the sunlight, we have those batteries to continue powering Orion. Now, we're doing so because the Artemis astronauts are about to experience a solar eclipse from their capsule. And this is a solar eclipse that no one else on Earth will experience. This eclipse is about 54 minutes, and to the astronauts, it'll look a lot like a total solar eclipse on Earth, except the moon is going to be huge compared to the sun, unlike when you watch one on Earth and the moon and the sun appear about the same size in the sky. We're interested to learn if they see the outer corona when the sun is fully obscured by the moon. And because of how big the moon will be from their perspective, the total phase of the eclipse will last nearly an hour. The astronauts will see a partial solar eclipse as the moon covers and uncovers the sun, which is before and after totality. So, much like us on Earth, they will have eclipse glasses so they can safely view that portion. The astronauts will also be using cameras to capture images of the corona during the eclipse. There also may be some other planets visible during the eclipse, including Venus, Saturn, Mars, and Mercury. If they can identify what part of the sky they're looking at, this can help train future Artemis astronauts on what part of the sky they're seeing. This provides useful knowledge in challenging situations when they may need to rely on that information instead of instruments for navigation and orientation. Confirmation from teams here in the ground that we have reached the eclipse attitude, meaning Orion is in the proper position to observe it. The astronauts' break during this observation period is now over, and we are resuming their lunar flyby observations. The first of these is sunset. This is the solar corona that we'll be looking for. It's the outer atmosphere of the sun. The science team is also interested in if the astronauts can see polar plumes. These are thin streamers that project from the sun's north and south poles. Additionally, they're interested in seeing if the crew can witness coronal loops. These are arcs close to the sun's surface. And something else that we've previously mentioned is lunar dust. This is dust from the moon that is lofted above the lunar surface and illuminated by the sun. It was reported visible by Apollo astronauts. You're getting a live look from Orion as the crew observes a solar eclipse from the moon. Again, this solar eclipse is only visible to the crew on the spacecraft. It's not visible to anybody on Earth. The science team is interested in several different targets for them during this time frame. And we're personally looking forward to getting those images as well. Again, during the beginning portion of this eclipse, the astronauts will need to use eclipse glasses, just like we do from Earth, to safely view it. Once the moon has completely covered the sun, they'll be able to take off those glasses for almost an hour. Totality on Earth during a solar eclipse lasts only a couple of minutes. So this opportunity gives them a chance to look out into deep space and to look into see if there are other planets nearby. What you're seeing right now is the solar corona. That's the outer atmosphere of the sun. And the science team is very interested in any images that the crew can capture of this. They're hoping that they'll take pictures and describe the visibility, color, and shape of the solar corona as a whole and its substructures, those plumes and streamers.
science integrity in the blind. This is continues to be unreal. The sun has gone behind the moon, and the corona is still visible, and it's bright, and it creates a halo almost around the entire moon. But when you get to the Earth side, the Earth shine is already shown. I mean, almost seconds after the sun set behind the moon, you could see Earth shine. The Earth is so bright out there, and the moon is just hanging in front of us. This black orb out in front of us, in front of now, not the blackness, but the gray that blends and drifts into the blackness. We can see stars and the planets behind it. And Christina is in window 1, Reed is in window 2 with the long lens, and Jeremy is describing it in window 3. And it is quite an impressive sight. You can still see the horizon lit up brighter where the sun set on that side of the moon. It is bright, and Earthshine is very distinct, and it creates quite an impressive visual illusion. Wow, it's amazing.
Again, you're looking at a live view from the Orion spacecraft on the Artemis II mission. Orion is now 252,125 miles away from us all on Earth. We're here in the Artemis Mission Control Room in Houston, Texas, and what you had just before we lost that view quickly was the corona of the sun peeking around the moon as the astronauts are entering a solar eclipse for this portion of the lunar flyby. We're now over 5,500 statute miles from the moon. That closest approach today was just about 4,067 statute miles away. And teams in the room beginning to get a little busier and filter in and out as we are stepping through a handover. The Orbit 1 team is handing over to Orbit 2, who will continue monitoring lunar flyby and all of the systems aboard the Orion spacecraft. You're getting your last few views of the solar corona as the moon begins to take center stage and completely cover the sun. If you see that bright dot up near the top left of your screen, we think right now that that may be a part of the spacecraft, but we'll be sure to correct that if we end up figuring out later that it is something else entirely. It has been an absolute honor to join you here today for the lunar flyby of Artemis II, the first time humans have flown by the moon in over 50 years. I'm Leah Cheshire Mustachio, and I'm excited now to hand over the
game is shifting around in the windows, and we are transferring settings on the camera to pick up Earth shine, and it is amazing. The brightness where the sunset is still bright. I think there may still be corona visible, but that part of the horizon is still lit brighter, and you still have a distinct Earth shine.
You know our rules that we don't talk when the crew is talking, so wanted to give Victor Glover a moment there to call down what he was seeing now that the moon is covering the sun. A really amazing time during today's lunar flyby. Again, thank you so much for letting us help tell this story today. I am Leah Cheshire Mustachio, handing it over to my friend Anna Schneider at the PAO console as the Orbit 2 team comes to join us. So thank you so much, and I hope you all enjoy tonight. Anna, you can take it away.
Thank you so much, Leah, and it's been a joy listening to your coverage over the last several hours. So as you mentioned, the Orbit 2 team of flight controllers is currently making their way on console and completing a shift handover with the Orbit 1 team of flight controllers. The Orbit 2 team tonight will be led by Flight Director Diane Daly, and she is currently handing over with the Orbit 1 flight director there on your screen, who was Flight Director Jeff Radigan. The Artemis II crew currently on board the Orion spacecraft. It continues to observe the eclipse that they are witnessing. There's about 43 minutes remaining in that eclipse period. This is Artemis Mission Control. You are currently seeing a live view of the solar array wing cameras on the Orion spacecraft. We spoke with our science team, and they did determine that that dot in the distance is Venus.
science integrity. Let's see, not a huge change in here, just an update. The camera settings for Earthshine are challenging. This one's challenging to capture. What we're seeing, we're just not picking up on the cameras. And after all of the amazing sights that we saw earlier, we just went sci-fi. This has, it just looks unreal. You can see the surface of the moon between, I guess, the Earthshine. I guess Earthshine. You can actually see a majority of the moon. It is the strangest looking thing that you can see so much on the surface.
This is Artemis Mission Control. You were just hearing some communications called down from NASA astronaut Victor Glover, currently on board the Orion spacecraft. They are currently observing an eclipse. There's about 39 minutes remaining in that eclipse period. Currently, we are in a forward link LOS, or loss of signal, so the crew can communicate down with...
He's seen 2 meteors, science.
So we are in a forward link loss of signal. We do expect to regain signal in about 3 minutes, and at that point then the ground can communicate back up to the crew on board the Orion spacecraft. In the meantime, the crew can continue to communicate down to the ground. The ground is just unable to respond, so they are continuing to provide some science observations during this eclipse period. They've made some comments about Earthshine, which is the sunlight reflected from Earth when they come around towards the moon's near side late in this flyby window.
science integrity in the blind. The glow around the moon is beginning to become a little bit more even. It's not so much distinct just where the sun set on the moon's horizon as we're flying through this trajectory, and then the sun's going to come up out of the other side. I think it's we're starting to see the glow around the moon get balanced out. I still see Earthshine, and the Earth is very bright out there. Still quite an unreal sight.
Integrity Houston, we have that sit rep loud and clear, and we are back with you. How do you hear me?
Hey Jenny, we have you loud and clear, thanks.
Copy. Victor, we're handing you over to Science for some critical questions. Thanks for your reports. Integrity Science, we were loving your science sit reps in the blind, and it should come as no surprise that we have a number of follow-up questions. First, you mentioned Reed observing meteors. Can you speak to that? Were you referring to comets or impact flashes or something else?
Yeah, there was a little bit of giddiness. We have seen 3 impact flashes so far. I saw 2, and Jeremy has seen 1. Undoubtedly, Jeremy saw 2, so that's 4 total. Undoubtedly, quick impact flashes. It was not sun glint off of particulate from the thrusters or the purge tanks. It was definitely impact flashes on the moon. And Jeremy just saw another one. Go ahead with your next question.
Amazing news. I literally just looked over at the SIR and they were jumping up and down literally. If you could describe where on the moon you saw them, please.
So they've all been either on or a bit south of the equator and on the Earth side of the moon. Stand by. All right, so Jeremy has seen them kind of on and south of the equator, kind of spread across the moon, and mine were both south of the equator and just a little bit left of center of the moon.
Incredible news, Reed, and reminder, we have citizen scientists here on Earth looking for impact flashes, so hearing you saw them on the near side means that people saw them too.
This is Artemis Mission Control. We have regained that signal, so the team here in Mission Control was able to call back up to the crew on board the Orion spacecraft as they continue their lunar flyby. Specifically, they are now in that eclipse period. So the science team here in Mission Control was able to ask some questions about some of the situational reports they were providing during that loss of signal. Specifically, they were interested in some of the meteors that they mentioned seeing and those impact flashes, and they did provide confirmation that they did see at least 4 impact flashes during that lost signal.
Are you still with us, Houston, or do we lose you?
Integrity, I hear you loud and clear. How do you hear me?
Okay, we got you loud and clear. One of the other things I wanted to describe, which was surprising to me, but the entire moon is lit up. It's glowing behind the entire moon. I thought it would look, dark against the black sky or deep space, but the sun is lighting up the entire limb of the moon. You can see the entire perimeter of it, and even now with the sun far behind the moon, you can still make out little bits of topography around the entire limb, just bumps as you go around it. And there's about the glow around the moon, once your eyes adjust, is easily 10 widths or diameters of the sun around the entire moon.
Incredible to hear, Jeremy. Were you able to actually pick out any discrete features on the lunar surface? And if so, how do they look different than when you observe them in solar illumination?
No, we really haven't been able to identify features on the lunar surface yet. We just see, the topography on the limb. For the Earth glow, we're about a quarter moon, waxing quarter moon, if you will, from the Earth glow perspective, and it's just at a very, just the sight angle. I'm just not able to tell what I'm looking at yet in the Earth glow.
Understood. Thanks, Jeremy. One other question for you on the solar corona. Were you actually able to see any structure or color in the corona before most of it disappeared behind the moon?
Yeah, I didn't pick out any color, but definitely structure. There were streamers, and they were not uniform at all. For me, the 5 o'clock position, there was just this constant streamer. It would change in intensity and diameter, but it was always there, and it was always at the 5 o'clock position. I only saw one plume, and it came out of basically the 3 o'clock position of the sun. That was very short-lived when I could see the plume.
Exactly what we were looking for. Thanks, Jeremy. And a heads up that we, calculated here on the ground about how long you could see the corona for, and we expect it to start to appear again in the next 11 minutes. Thanks for those amazing descriptions.
Okay, we're excited to see it all again.
Integrity Houston, we're following along as well. That was outstanding. If you haven't already, just reminding you to swap positions at the windows. And that brief LOS we had previously was due to a data rate change expected.
Okay, we copy that, Jenny.
Integrity Science, one more request for you. While it's still fresh in your mind, any annotations or sketches you want to make of what you're seeing either around the corona structures you just mentioned or even on Earthshine would be so appreciated.
Okay, Kelsey, it's going to be pretty hard to go look at a PCD right now, but we'll definitely try and annotate what we saw.
And if the annotations come in the next block where you're cleaning up your documentation, that sounds like a good plan to me.
This is Artemis Mission Control. On the bottom right corner of your screen, you can see a view of the Science Officer Console here in Mission Control. And we've been hearing that communication between the Science Officer. The Orbit 1 Science Officer is Kelsey Young, and she's been asking questions to the crew, specifically CSA astronaut Jeremy Hansen. based on the observations they've been making during this eclipse period. And then in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, you can see a view of the Artemis Real-Time Orbit website, which provides updates on the velocity and the distance from Earth and the Moon of the Orion spacecraft as it continues to make its way back to Earth. The distance from the Moon will continue to increase at this point. So right now, Orion and its crew are about 6,300 miles away from the Moon and about 251,000 miles away from the Earth.
Okay, science, we're getting set up for sunrise. The window teams are, Christina is supporting, and also Azina 9 in window 1. Jeremy's got the long lens in window 2, and the short lens in window 2. And Reed is in window 3, and he has started recordings and is set up to see Corona.
Great, sit rep Victor. That sounds like a good config, and we're showing coronal effects start to appear on your video camera. So in the next few minutes, we should start to hear your observations.
This is Artemis Mission Control. We just heard the crew call down to the team here in Houston, reporting that they have swapped out who is in the windows for the final portion of the lunar flyby. So Christina Cook is in window 1, with Jeremy Hansen in window 2 and Reed in window 3. Reed is focusing on observing corona, which is the solar corona, which is the sun's outermost atmosphere. There is about 18 minutes remaining in the eclipse period.
Science, and Houston integrity. I know this observation won't be of any scientific value, but I'm really glad we launched on April 1st because humans probably have not evolved to see what we're seeing. It is truly hard to describe. It is amazing.
Amazing. Thank you, Victor.
And just one more logistics note, we have gone as dark as we can in the cabin. We have turned the DUs all the way as dim as they can go, so you can't see anything on the screens. Every bit of light in the cabin affects the view. You're definitely seeing the brightness go closer. It's definitely brighter on the Earthshine side, and so we're expecting to see some corona here soon.
We copy all. Excited for what you see next.
I'm not sure if we talked much about the star field, but we've got lots of stars. You've got the nice glow around the moon, but right off the well, we're upside down now, but from upside down 4 o'clock, right off the edge of the moon, looks like a planet. That line of planets, there's something a moon diameter to the left, and something right off the limb of the moon to the right, and then something orange. It looks orange to the right of that, about half the moon diameter. So. But anyway, there are definitely stars. I think some of those planets that you said we might see, we're seeing. And so in unreal view, yeah, the moon in the foreground is one of the darkest things we see out the window. And now it's deep space behind it is kind of dark blue like it looks from Earth, but we can also still see stars. It's quite a wicked view.
Victor,
Mike is doing the best job, and I'm not going to try to add on to what he's doing. It's indescribable. No matter how long we look at this, our brains are not processing this image in front of us. It is absolutely spectacular, surreal. There's no adjectives. I'm going to need to invent some new ones to describe what we are looking at out this window.
This is just absolutely beautiful and inspiring to hear. And Victor, we suspect what you're seeing is Saturn and Mars. That reddish object is likely Mars. Good opportunity to look to the future of where we're going.
Yeah, we can absolutely see the color of Mars. That's awesome. Okay, and from this vantage point, the 4 o'clock on the Earthshine side is definitely getting brighter, still no coronal structure.
Houston copies.
And we aren't able to distinguish which Mare is, but we can clearly see Mare in the Earthshine.
We copy.
This is Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas.
We have not seen an impact flash in the last 5 minutes.
Sounds unlucky, but you had a pretty strong start, so we'll take it.
And actually, right after I said that, right at the South Pole, near the South Pole on the Terminator, Reed just saw one.
Amazing. Integrity Science, and as you look around our solar system neighborhood, you should see Saturn setting behind the moon right now.
We do. We've been watching it track close to the horizon, and it's right tangential to the moon at this moment.
This is Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas. We are currently 5 days, 2 hours, and 44 minutes into the Artemis 2 mission, and we have about 11 minutes remaining in the eclipse at the latter half of the lunar flyby that the Artemis 2 crew is experiencing on board the Orion spacecraft. We've received several different call downs from the crew and questions up from the science officer here in Mission Control. One of the things that they said that they were able to see is Mars off in the distance, and then the science team also confirmed that they should be seeing Saturn setting behind the moon. They've also acknowledged seeing several different impact flashes, and these are flashes of lights from meteorites striking the surface of the moon. They've also mentioned the solar corona, which is the sun's outermost atmosphere. Here in Mission Control Houston, the Orbit 1 and Orbit 2 teams have officially completed their handover. So the Orbit 2 team is now leading here in Mission Control, and that is being led by Flight Director Diane Daly, and the Capcom here in Mission Control will be Tess Caswell. And you can see there on your screen on the right-hand side is the Flight Director console, and Diane Daly is in the far right of that screen, and Tess Caswell, the Capcom or capsule communicator, is in the far left hand of that screen.
The light is continuing to grow in intensity. At about the 4 o'clock position on the, about the 8 o'clock position on the Earth-shine side. Saturn has set. Mars is tracking towards the moon's horizon.
Integrity Science, we copy, and we're starting to see it on the vehicle stream. Looking forward to any coronal observations you can share with us.
This is Artemis Mission Control. That view you're seeing on your screen is coming from the solar array wing cameras outside of the Orion spacecraft. And you can see the light starting to come into view as the solar eclipse period is starting to end.
Integrity, still no coronal structure at this time, just continuing to grow in intensity.
Copy, Victor. And reminder, you still should have several minutes before the eclipse classes need to go on, and we can send you up a reminder when you're getting close to take your eyes away from the D5 viewfinder, but you should be good for several more minutes.
Copy, thank you, and yes, please send up the reminder. Thank you. Okay, we all think we're starting to see something. I believe the most popular term is baby hair. As the light grows in intensity and the horizon on this side becomes very distinct. You can still see Earth shine, even though the sun's brightness is definitely growing in intensity.
Love the description, Victor. I'm sure as the next couple minutes progress, more of those structures will continue to pop out.
This is Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas. The Artemis 2 astronauts on board the Orion spacecraft are currently observing an eclipse. And to the crew on board the spacecraft, the eclipse looks much like a total solar eclipse here on Earth, except the moon is much larger compared to the sun, unlike a terrestrial solar eclipse where the moon and the sun appear the same size in the sky.
We are definitely starting to see structure. That baby hair is rapidly growing out toward the 9 o'clock and the 8 o'clock. It's almost as if it were reaching out for Venus or for the Earth. If you've ever seen the spotlight off the top of the Luxor at night in Las Vegas, this looks like what that wants to be when it grows up.
Integrity Science, glad to hear you're following your training of Tele like you see it.
So far, it's pretty symmetrical. There are 2 or 3 streamers that are growing in intensity and in magnitude, and it's slowly starting to widen, starting to spread out across the horizon. Pretty amazing view.
And Integrity Houston, great words. Reminder for you, we are approaching the brightness level at which you should no longer be using the viewfinder on the D5.
Integrity copies, and thanks for the heads up.
This is Artemis Mission Control.
And I think we're seeing some directionality. Some of it is going in different directions because it appears to be moving and combining and recombining as it it's pointing in different directions, and some of it appears to be going like down toward the south pole of the moon, but it's and then coming back together and going out towards Venus and the Earth. And depending on how I stare at it, it looks like one large structure, but then it definitely has wisps, and you can see 3 or 4 structures inside of it. It's like watching a flame. It's like looking at a flame, and stand by. And so it has some inherent movement. Now there's a very bright spot. There's a very bright spot in the center of it. There's a towering light of and then there were like 2 streamers that were going 30 degrees out from it, and now it is just extremely bright.
Houston, copies all.
Starting to get a little warm.
And we copied all. We wanted to remind you at this point on the eclipse glasses. Should be about time for those.
Houston, we copy all. We are in eclipse glasses. That was an absolutely spectacular, magnificent experience.
Thanks for the report. We sure wish we were there with you.
This is Artemis Mission Control. The eclipse period is coming to an end, and we did hear that call up that the crew now has to put on those eclipse glasses to be able to protect their eyes for this final portion of the eclipse. And these views coming to you from the solar array wing cameras on the Orion spacecraft.
Houston, if you could give me about 20 new superlatives in the mission summary for tomorrow, that'll help my vocabulary out a bit. Thank you.
We will solicit input from the team.
This is Artemis Mission Control. There on your screen, you can see a live look inside of the SIR, or the Science Evaluation Room, here in Mission Control Houston, just down the hallway from the Artemis Flight Control Room.
Integrity Houston, back with you after a data rate change. Regarding the SAW-3 camera T low caution, no action for you. It just got a little cool during the eclipse.
Okay, we copy, and if you didn't copy my request for the mission summary to add about 20 new superlatives to help my vocabulary, I would appreciate it.
We copied it fantastically.
And Integrity Science, this is basically wrapping up your fly-by-day observations. I can't say enough how much science we've already learned and how much inspiration you've provided to our entire team, the lunar science community, and the entire world with what you were able to bring today. You really brought the moon closer for us today, and we cannot say thank you enough. And Science signing off, and can't wait to talk to you tomorrow morning.
To your entire team, Kelsey, to the entire NASA science team, you all really turned to when we shifted launch dates to April 1st, and you got the most incredible package together for us to go do some great science and some great, truly human experience moments here. And we were well prepared, and we appreciate all of you. And this is what we do best when we all come together and work as a team. So you all knocked it out of the park. Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Beautiful words, Reed. Thanks so much.
And this is Artemis Mission Control. The lunar flyby observation period is starting to come to a close following that eclipse. And there on your screen you can see a look into the Science Evaluation Room, or the SIR, which is embedded within Mission Control to provide science input. And they provided that input throughout the live flyby operations today. They also have a back room called the Science Mission Operations Room that processes data, evaluates imagery, and supports rapid analysis. And then, of course, we have the science officer on console here in the Artemis Flight Control Room, which you can see a view there on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. The science officer throughout the flyby operations today has been Kelsey Young, who is the Artemis Science Flight Operations Lead. And then to her left is Angela Garcia, who will be the science officer taking over for Orbit 2. And for the past 7 hours or so, the crew has been going through their lunar flyby observation period. And now they will wrap up that period and complete some final tasks and begin downlinking some of the amazing imagery that they've captured throughout the day, as well as some of the observations that they've recorded. And now on your screen, you're seeing a live look from the Orion spacecraft from those solar array wing cameras. The solar eclipse period ended just a few minutes ago, and during this eclipse, towards the end of the flyby window, it lasted about an hour, and it was when the sun was hidden from view behind the opposite side of the moon from the perspective of the Orion spacecraft and its crew. And during that time, the crew saw a mostly dark moon, and they used the opportunity to analyze the solar corona, which is the sun's outermost atmosphere, while it was visible. And then once the sun was completely out of view behind the moon, the crew looked for impact flashes, which they reported seeing multiple impact flashes, and those are flashes of light from meteoroids striking the surface of the moon. They also looked for dust lofting above the limb or the edge of the moon, along with some deep space targets, including planets, and they noticed Mars off to the distance, and we also saw Venus on one of the solar array wing cameras early on in the eclipse period. The crew also looked at parts of the moon illuminated by Earthshine, which is the sunlight reflected from the Earth when they come around toward the moon's near side at the very end of that flyby window.
Integrity Houston, understand that you are still reflecting upon and consolidating your lunar observations. At your convenience, I have 2 items related to the upcoming VIP event.
Go ahead.
All right, first we wanted to let you know that the message for that upcoming event is on board for review at your convenience. That's message 3.06.04. The second item is that we've seen a couple of video blips in previous events. So during the HDPAO setup activity, we're wondering if Jeremy could please confirm for us that the TS rate is set to 1300 when you get to step 10.
Okay, Jenny. Yeah, we're pretty sure we've been in 1300 for all the PAO events. We've been tracking that when we swap between the HHP and the D5.
We copy, Jeremy. Thanks. And for the record, the phenomenal Jenny has gone on to her next appointment of the day, and you've now got Tess with you.
I'm sorry, Tess. Great to have you on board Integrity.
No worries. Happy to be here.
This is Artemis Mission Control. We heard some communication there between the Capcom or capsule communicator here in Mission Control, which for Orbit 2 is Tess Caswell, and the CSA or Canadian Space Agency astronaut on board the Orion spacecraft, Jeremy Hansen. They were discussing an upcoming public affairs event.
And Integrity, 3-minute warning for the maneuver back to bias tail to sun.
The crew on board the Orion spacecraft recently completed their lunar observation period. It was an approximately 7-hour period of time in which they were focused on several different targets identified by the science team here on the ground that they studied and prepared for ahead of time. And then they also were referencing a lunar targeting package that was uplinked about a day ago with those final targets. Now they are completing some post-lunar flyby activities, so they're working to clean up their observations that they've made and also working to downlink some of the photos that they've taken throughout the day. The science team here on the ground will then work to get as much data as they can overnight, and then there will be a post-flyby conference tomorrow after the crew wakes up. And that's not a debrief, but a science data collection to capture their nuanced experience while they're still in the field and the experience is still fresh. And then, of course, there will also be a public affairs downlink event later in the day. Now that once the post-lunar flyby activities are complete. And then after that, the crew will go into some of their final activities for the day. They will have a private medical conference, or PMC, with the medical teams here on the ground. These are regular conferences that they have at the end of every day, and then there's also a flight director conference that they will have before they go into their pre-sleep period, during which they can complete hygiene activities, and they will have the chance to eat their dinner and complete any other final personal activities for the day before they head into their sleep period.
we're curious if you're ready for us to start the stream a bit early and to test Cena voice.
Checking. And integrity, affirm. We are go to start the stream.
Okay, Houston, the stream has started. We checked the TS rates 1300 and audio is true. So I will give you a voice check now on the mic.
We copy good settings and we've got a good view.
In test, I sent an audio check down on the handheld mic. Did you get it?
Sorry for the delay, Jeremy. We were talking that a bit, but it was a bit broken, so please repeat for us.